Hi there, it's Alexandra here from the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel and blog. And I've just come back from the RHS Hampton Court Palace Garden Festival, where there were some lovely ideas that I think we can use in our gardens. If I had to sum up the planting, I'd say that cottage garden was the dominant theme, although of course cottage garden is a very broad church. It can be anything from a wispy, almost naturalistic planting in a landscape like this Travel Oregon garden, or it can be a riot of colour like in these container planting by Gardener's Delight. You could have very pretty pastel colours, colour themed, like this Three Graces Garden of Galicia by Errol Fernandes. And I just loved this. I thought it was very pretty, pink, white, blue, and the pollinators were just clustering around the purple flowers, which are veronicastrums. Or for more colour, there were some cubes which were done by the KLC students, and one of them was encouraging us to plant more yellow in the garden. It was called the Golden Garden, and the other one was called the Colourist's Garden, and once again was very much encouraging the idea of colour in our gardens. And of course, when it comes to colour, you don't get much better than Hardy's cottage garden plants, and I loved their display, I always do. Plants to fall in love with include Agastache Belicious, which I saw on the Daisy Roots stand. And I really love this sort of cottage garden planting in a box by Darcy and Everest. Even weeds and wildflowers come into the cottage garden theme. Kent Wildflowers had some lovely flowers on their stand that would do really well to fill a gap in a border. And when I went up to the RHS logo, which had some really pretty planting, I discovered that there was actually a bramble there, and it looked quite attractive, although it is going to be a while before I actually want one in my own garden. One thing I've spotted in quite a few of the garden shows this year is an increasing use of bronze or red foliage. I simply love this Cercis canadensis in Kitty Kovac's garden, and I think she's also got the copper beech there as well. Or you could fall in love with Spicecarpus Lady in Red from Hardy's Cottage Garden Plants. Or what about Berberis Roseglow from Burncoose Nurseries? And of course acers create a brilliant foliage presence in the garden. Not every garden was colourful. There were a couple of gardens which were predominantly green, such as this one, which is the One Element Garden, which was all about using grey water in the garden. And very green with punctuation of white was the most award-winning garden in the whole show, which was the Subaru Cocoon by Julesy Matthews and Mike McMahon. That had lovely planting. It was a contemporary take on a walled garden, and it used some very interesting bricks. And it just had the white silver birch trunks in contrast to the green and a few white flowers. But if there's one plant that I really think is coming into its own at the moment, and that's the fern. Above all, we're all seeking resilience in our plants. I'm talking to you in the middle of a heat wave. In fact, you can see me batting away the midges. And yet we had one of the wettest winters we've had ever. So when you walk past the plant labels on the Alchemy Ferns stand, and you see that many ferns will deal with hot and cold, dry and wet, shade and sun, well, it's not surprising that garden designers are using them in their gardens in such large amounts. There were 4 different kinds of ferns in the Subaru Cocoon garden, and virtually all the other gardens had some ferns. Another trend worth trying is logs as ornaments, as well as habitat piles, or even as garden edging. The RHS and the RSPB got together to do a garden called Swifts to highlight the fact that these beautiful birds are now becoming really quite rare in the UK countryside. And this had logs as ornaments, and it also had logs as habitat piles. And of course it had lots of ferns as well. And in the Woodland Edge garden there was a willow fence and logs used as edging, which I think looks lovely, but I certainly couldn't do it in this garden because Ozzy would want to chase the logs or chew the logs. We've recently had Faversham open gardens, and one thing many people commented is that an increasing number of people with small gardens are getting rid of their lawns, having more planting and only having hard landscaping where you need to sit or dine. But a solid chunk of hard landscaping can be expensive, it can get hot, and it's not very good for the environment. So there were quite a lot of gardens mixing, say, stone or pavers with gravel or with different types of gravel, and these were all demonstrated on the APL stand. That's the Association of Professional Landscapers, who of course would be the authorities on this sort of thing. And of course on their stand you had things like just using a short run of brick where you need some firmness, or a short run of decking, and then mixing it perhaps with wood chip. Even crazy paving has made a comeback. And in this garden by Yoni Carnis and a team of park rangers from the London parks, crazy paving has been used as a way of recycling paving, and it's been set into crushed rubble, which is more reclaimed material. And there's more about this in my video about growing the future with the Horniman, so I'll put that in the description below as well. And when it comes to garden ponds, we've all been saying, put a pond in your garden, help wildlife. Many of these show gardens had 2 or 3 small raised ponds, which is lovely. And they also had other water features, such as a waterfall or a rill below it. Daniel March's garden here had, I think, 3 ponds, and the simple copper piping tap is something that can be created by any good plumber. But if you want to have a look at all the very different ways that you can create a cottage garden, then don't miss this video coming up next, which is an in-depth look at all the different ways and styles that cottage garden and cottage garden planting can do. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.